will always be retaliatory tariffs. And this is what I'm saying. The tariffs are set to begin on February 1st. The trade war, also known as the tariff war, it's all one and the same thing. You're probably wondering, how worried should you be? That's what this video is about. I'm going to tell you what happened last time we had a trade war, which was not that long ago. So think to yourself, what products do you remember that got a tariff on them? Do you even remember? We'll get into that in this video. We'll talk about what you can do about it, how to land on your feet, and how to benefit from this thing that's happening either way, because there's moves you can make today. First of all, what are tariffs? These are taxes imposed on goods when they're bought or brought in from other countries. So if you're an American citizen and you want to buy a plastic swimming pool from China, if they have a 25% tariff, that product in Walmart on the shelves in Des Moines is going to cost you 25% more than the actual price of the product. And do you even remember last time? And the thing is, I think that there's a lot of hype and fear, uncertainty, and doubt. People are kind of freaking out a bit. It sounds scary, trade war, and don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to belittle how serious it is for anyone who has a job in one of the affected industries. People will lose jobs because of the tariff war. That's what happens. But think of it all as a big shifting or movement of all of the different sides of the economy itself. If there's a tariff against products from China, people in America will buy less products from China because they're more expensive. Unfortunately, right now, there's not a lot of alternatives. If you don't buy that plastic swimming pool from China, maybe you get from Mexico, it's hard to get it at such a low price if it's made in America. That's just a fact. Every company, every business has competitive advantages. And if you have a really low priced workforce, that's a massive competitive advantage. China can make products for a lot less than we can. So the question is, do we want the product? And if we want the product, we have to make it, and we have to get to that point. It'll take years to get there. In January 22nd, 2018, solar panels and washing machines both saw tariffs imposed against them. And remember, it's not against the product, it's against the country making the product. So tariffs of 30% were imposed on imported solar panels. Washing machines faced tariffs starting at 20%, and that tariff amount would increase with the number of imported washing machines. Now, on March 1st, 2018, we had tariffs on steel, 25%. Aluminum imports were subjected to a 10% tariff. It's actually on July 6th, 2018, where the actual trade war with China kind of broke out. And as you can see, we've had trade wars with Canada and Mexico. We've had trade wars with China, Europe, lots of them in the past. And they're scary, and they do have an impact on people affected and on the overall economy. But in general, most people are way more worried about this than they need to be. It's a matter of even using them as a negotiation tool. If you look at it, Donald Trump's got leaders of all sorts of countries jumping around, changing things for what he wants because of these tariffs. They do have value for a negotiator. And just a heads up, I'm going to get you a big report about all the top stocks under $5 in the new modern technology space. You should have it in your hands Sunday if you're a subscriber to my newsletter. On July 6th, 2018, China trade war begins. We imposed a 25% tariff on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods. The response to that, if you remember, was China doing their own tariffs and negotiations and movements because of the trade war. That's when we were stopping selling them soybeans. They tariffed soybeans. It made it difficult to produce the soybeans at a profitable cost, and the soybean farmers were affected by it. The agricultural industry in America was affected by it. And that's just an example of how it plays out. There will always be retaliatory tariffs. And this is what I'm saying. The tariffs are set to begin on February 1st. The new ones. And when they get launched, and we're talking 25% against Canada, Mexico, there's also some against China. Some of the effects can be increased prices. If products cost more to bring them into the country to make whatever product you're selling, you have to put a bigger sticker price on it. The price of products will increase in that way. But people adjust their buying and selling habits. People change what they're going to buy because of the tariffs, and all of a sudden, they don't spend more money total. But certain products cost more, so they inflate, whereas other ones cost less because people have less money because there's all these tariffs along with inflation and everything else. So here's all the new tariffs that are coming out now. President Donald Trump announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico and Canada, effective February 1st, 2025. Now listen to this one. You think that was scary? Listen how big this one is. A tariff against China of 60% is proposed for anything imported to the country from China, and that's aiming to boost the U.S. economy and encourage domestic manufacturing. Exactly. If you take a trading partner that sends you all these goods, and you add a 60% tariff on those goods, it's very unlikely anyone's going to buy those goods, and all of a sudden there's a open market for American manufacturing to fill that void. There'll be growing pains first as all these pieces move around. Just think of it like the whole board is getting rattled or shaken. So there's potential price increases, but there's also the reaction by the industries. There's a lot of decisions being made to prepare for the tariffs or to react to the tariffs. The tariffs are expected to raise the cost of imported goods, including essential items like food and medications. Economists warn that American families could see an increase in costs for grocery expenses due to higher prices on products such as avocados, chocolate, and coffee. We get something like 80% of our avocados from Mexico, and now those avocados cost more. That'll have an effect in a lot of ways, but you don't necessarily take a hit from it because you might not buy an avocado or be in an affected industry. A lot of people will see what's going on in the trade war, but they won't be directly affected. Not clearly directly affected. Everyone's going to be affected, but they won't be clearly directly affected. Some people will. That's a vast minority, and I'm not saying that because it's a minority that's okay. I'm just saying that most people are going to be way more worried about this trade war than I believe that they should be. And I wanted to give you this quote from JP Morgan Chase CEO. This is Jamie Dimon, and he says, "The U.S. stock market is kind of inflated." And he says that asset prices are currently in the top 10 to 15% of historical valuations. It's a lot higher than that, but anyways. He also defended President Trump's proposed tariffs, suggesting critics should get over it, as tariffs can serve as an economic tool or negotiating tactic. Exactly my point. Like I said earlier, we've got a big tech report coming out, all the top stocks under $5 in these new modern technology spaces. You and I have to keep an eye on this trade war every step of the way, know what's going to happen next, how it's going to affect you. And we'll keep on doing that. That's why you want to subscribe to the channel. But you can also become a Peter Leeds Insider, get all sorts of added contact with me, special newsletter. All details below this video, or you can get our world famous stock picks through the peterleeds.com newsletter.